Sean said hi, so got it. Awesome. Well, we are officially live on YouTube for the first time. And you got Chad Atkinson and I here with B2B Transportation. Hopefully, I was just telling Chad before we went live here that I usually don't get nervous, but the fact that this is all new and nerves are good and it just means we care. So
Yep.
we'll just get better as it. And to share my own words that I say all the time is just get out there and start. So here we are. So how you doing today, Chad?
Well, it's a pretty good morning. We have a nice, beautiful another day in Southern Oregon with the sun out. Can't complain. Uh, Kale and I, getting started today, we were like looking at some of this technology to get everything working, and it's like, oh, wait a second, we need to figure out how to do all this. So here we are, just
Yep.
just doing it.
Yep. Put a deadline and we made it happen. So I'll just jump into a little bit about B2B transportation, who we are. We've been in business for a little over 20 years. February 2004, we started business. So celebrated our 20th year anniversary this year. And one of the things that really wanted to make happen this year was celebrate that 20 years and propel us into the next level of what we're going to do. And big part of that was finding Chad about a year ago, bringing him on in April, and having somebody that I can work with to help recruit and has been in the business a lot. Chad's been a huge help during that time. So Chad, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in and maybe a little bit of your history, and then I'll ping pong back to my history and a little bit more about B2B.
Sure. Well, I've been in transportation officially for about 32 years, almost 33 now. But before that, I spent quite a bit of time in construction, working with my father, around heavy equipment and so forth. So I had a fair amount of experience with equipment and trucks and trailers and backhoes and all that kind of thing. Started to realize I didn't really want to do backbreaking labor my whole life, so I went to school. There in the school, I did some work at UPS, loading trailers, putting the boxes in the back of the trailer and using that as my gym membership to keep me in shape. But around 1992, once I kind of got out of school and started working more in an office setting, I started working for a company called In Transit, which I think a lot of people probably remember from way back when, one of the first brokers to really start moving a lot of flatbed in North America. I had quite a bit of technology expertise, and I took the application that we were using. It was a homegrown application, and modernized that. Hired a number of people. Initially, I did a bunch of the development myself, but then I took that and went into hiring some people to help to really modernize it and go into a more Java, Windows look and feel application. Uh,
Awesome.
and in transit at the time was all a local business with local employees. We did have a couple remote offices, all connected via, VPN networks and so forth, but really quite simple. And I made the comment to the owner one day, it's like, hey, there's this thing called the internet, and people can connect wherever they would like. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, we don't have to hire people here in Medford, Oregon. We could hire them wherever. And so we started putting together ideas on how to make an agency program and started hiring agents to come on board. And, we, just like Kel mentions a lot in the conversations we have with everybody, just do it. Just get started. Don't wait. We just basically jumped head first in and tried to make that application work.
Awesome.
Uh, and, over the years, I worked for a company, in transit. Then we got acquired by Market Transport, and we got acquired by UTI, and then we got acquired by DSV. And through all those acquisitions, people, were trying to get us to change, to do things differently, to improve. So we had to modify how we were doing things quite a bit throughout that time frame. But with one goal in mind was to keep the agents happy, keep them able to do what they need to do and be successful. And and then I, toward, last few years is like, I'm these big companies, not so not so fun to work with, international, lots of travel and so forth. And ran across B2B, started talking to Kale and really believe, through all my history going from small to big, that there's a lot more flexibility, a lot more ability to meet the agent's needs from a
Mhm.
small customer, small company perspective. And so here I am, bringing people over to B2B and also, helping B2B grow with technology, with process, with whatever I can, with all the different ways I've seen things happen. It's like I have ideas, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not.
Hey, same
So
here, man.
so that's kind of me in a nutshell. It's like, it's kind of hard to say 30 some years worth of
Yeah,
everything, but that's me.
cool. Well, so why are we here today? That was one of the questions that Chad and I kicked around before we started, is answering that question. And this whole process really started with bringing new people into the industry and training them, because we all have to learn, from somewhere, from somebody. And we all start as what we are calling baby brokers. And so the whole premise of this is baby brokers to boss brokers, and going from zero to multiple zeros with a one in front of it. So from zero to $1 million as a broker. And we're really excited about this process. We have two people that are starting Monday, possibly a third, a late candidate, Rose, that came from a great referral from somebody that already works with us. And if we can make that happen, we'll have a third, and that'll just add more to it. So what this process is going to look like for us is, we're going to train them from the ground up. Obviously sales training. We're going to do Grant Cardone sales training. That's a huge part of it, but we're not just going to throw them to the wolves and say, here's the list, cold call, dial, dial, dial. We're going to work on those scripts. We're actually going to put them through each of our departments. So they're going to be onboarding carriers because one of the things that we're seeing today, and Sean, who's is listening to us right now, is fraud in our industry is huge. And if you're not understanding what the requirements and what those red flags are with those carriers, it can be problematic. So we think that putting them in carriers and actually onboarding carriers through that training process is going to be huge. So I'm excited about that. Um, Chad, any thoughts on that piece of it?
Yeah, I think, as anybody who's been in this industry understands, you have to kind of know a little bit about how everything works on the front end, the back end. What it takes to clear a carrier is really important. What's the key things you look at? You look at their insurance, you look at their authority, you look at their history. Do they have safe running of their operation? You know, uh, are they always getting paid in advance? Or do they, get paid on terms, So
Mhm.
this says a lot about each carrier, and it's really important that you know what it takes to get that carrier through the door and vet them, because a large part of the vetting as an agent is really vetting that carrier yourself first to make sure you're going to be working with somebody you can work with.
Yep, great points. One of the things to add on to this program is we're going to bring them in with a sense of urgency, because that's what it takes in this business. But again, we're not going to throw them to the wolves. We're going to have this training process. We're going to interview them on a weekly basis. I'm really excited about that process. Um, and at 6 months, that's in my mind. I mean, obviously we'll adjust as needed, but at 6 months, the goal is to have them where they're more operating on their own. And some of them may be ready earlier. And if that's the case, we'll adjust. Some may be ready later. And if that's the case, we'll adjust, and we'll just refine that process. But we don't have it stuck in our head that it's a rigid process where they have to do XYZ by this date, because everybody learns different, and we really want them to have that solid foundation. So we're actually going to have them do a couple rotations through that carriers piece, where month one everything's going to be new, but by month four, if they're rotating through again, they're going to come to it with different eyes. A lot of the stuff we're going to do too is calling carriers, having those conversations. I think I mentioned it in some other posts. Take them over to the truck stop and talk to drivers and share, from a driver perspective, what's important, that they, when they've worked with brokers, what do they love? But sometimes more importantly, what do they hate and what do we want to avoid doing? Um, so excited about that. Chad, if you had any additional thoughts on some of those topics.
Yeah, I do really like the truck stop visits. I think talking to drivers actually is really important in our space. That's where the rubber hits the road, and the people that are doing that, they have a lot of experience and they see a lot of people. They talk to a lot of people. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. Get a lot of opinions, but
Mhm.
in the end, it's good to hear all that. But also, our team of people here who have decades of experience managing freight themselves. Everybody has a little bit different way to handle that business, and their business is always different. Everybody has customers that are a little bit different. In the brokerage space, it's very niche based. There's a lot of people who have expertise that fits very well to their customer, and they have that experience. They know everything there is to know about that business. And just listening to those experienced people talk to their customers, asking the questions they ask, you know, making sure that the customer is getting proactive service, and getting the things they need. How they do that is really important to be able to see that and learn from that.
Yep, I would agree. And I'll kind of touch back on the experience within, our four walls and our team is, we have, I'll speak a little bit about mine. Started on the shipper side, went to an asset-based company, went through that process of selling that company and then staying on, and got to pull back the curtain on a lot of, companies, and what they were doing across the US. And it was a great experience. Sometimes it's more important, I already mentioned, but learning what not to do, learning from other people's mistakes, um, and really, dropping the ego so that we can actually learn and be like, oh, well, it didn't work because of them or whatever, or I'm going to do it different. And it's okay to retry things, but just have no ego in that process. And then started running B2B transportation. It's almost 5 years now. So shipper, asset based, or carrier, and now broker. And that's similar experience to a lot of the people that work for us. We have, if you look at Wayne, he started as a driver, worked at an asset based company, and now he's been with B2B transportation for, I'd say, at least 8 or 10 years, probably even longer than that. So it's important to have that experience to understand who we're working with, what their challenges are, whether it's a customer or a carrier, because we say it all the time, and the people that are successful in this industry is the relationships are what drive this business forward and make those relationships or those each businesses successful. So yeah, experience, Steve, in our ops ran and owned a trucking company. And we, there's just story after story of that, within our agents. One of the things I wanted to touch on is, we have over 35 agencies across the US, 20 something employees. A lot of those are support, but we're also working to grow, obviously, with the hires that we're bringing on board. And just excited about the future. The market's kind of sucks right now. Um, I think everybody would agree with that. But even in a bad market, a lot of times you can still grow your business, maybe just not as quick or easy, but you're laying, it's more important you're laying the foundation for when the market does improve. And that's really what we're doing right now is we're doing a ton of things that, maybe they're not moving the needle right now, but they're going to. And we're excited about that. So anything I missed there, Chad, on our experience as a company, or you'd like to
Well, I
expand
think
on?
I think from the zeros to zeros concept, when you look at each one of our experienced operations people, they all started from a different place. They all had different experience before they became a freight broker and before they became successful even as a freight broker. So I think, when you bring on new people and they understand how those people that have been successful and are successful got to where they are and where they started, you start to, see some analogies between yourself and those people. And everybody knows it's difficult when you first start. And like Kel said, the market right now is not the best to be doing cold calling or to getting new accounts set up. But the learning, in a time frame where the market is bad is not a bad thing to do, because once you get that learning, then when the market does turn and when opportunities do present themselves, you're going to be ready to take a hold of it. So we really believe that, getting the people in the door now, getting them trained, so that when we do have that growth spurt in the near future, they'll be able to optimize what they're doing and really capitalize on it.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to hit on too was, who are these new hires? What experience do they have? And what that processes look like. We found two of the two that are already hired through a LinkedIn process, Sharon, just a paid ad. I think Chad, what'd you say? It was like $8 or
Yeah,
something that we
six or
paid.
$8 a day.
Yeah. So for just a few bucks of promoting that, we found some great people. Obviously, I was really promoting it through, TikTok, YouTube, my LinkedIn, Chad's LinkedIn, and getting the word out there. But we actually got those applications through LinkedIn. And the two people that we already have hired, great people, obviously, we're bringing them on board. We're excited about it, but different experiences. So Crystal is, had some great experience leading teams, currently working at Home Depot, but had some other jobs in food and beverage service, which I think translates well to what we do in transportation. Because, if you've ever been in food service, whether it's a, bus person or a waiter or waitress, there's a lot of things that you got to be juggling things. You got to have a good memory. You got to be a great people person if you want good tips. So I think all those things translate. And, I always think about it when I'm eating out and I have a great waiter or waitress, they anticipate your needs. And I think that's what translates so well to our industry currently is, maybe they recognize you and, hey, do you want the same? Or, hey, I know you like to try something new. What about this? And kind of learning that customer profile and learning what those needs are and how to service them. So excited about Crystal. I know she's been super engaged with me via text and some YouTube videos that we were sharing back and forth. So super excited about her. And then on the other side is Alan. Alan's a young gentleman right out of college. You know, what I like about his story is he was an All-American soccer player. Went on a full ride to SOU there and met down in Ashland, just south of us. Um, Anybody that's ever been a college athlete knows how to work hard. I mean, it's like it is a full-time job and then some to go to school and play. But even the next level is reaching that All-American status. So we've had some great conversations as well. So super excited about that. He's eager. I think he's going to pick up a lot of the tech stuff really easy because he's, young guy. He's grown up with it and he doesn't know anything different than just dealing with tech. So excited about both of them. And I know, Chad, you chatted with both of them. Is there anything that you'd add?
Yeah, I just think, in this business, your background, your experience, matters, because each customer is different, and you may have the ability to have a conversation with a customer and get a connection there that another person wouldn't, just based on your experience and what you've done. Sports brings a lot of people together. I mean, soccer is for sure the number one sport in the world that everybody pays attention to. In the U.S., obviously a little different, but it is a really popular sport, and there's going to be a lot of customers who will love to talk a little bit about soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Crystal, Home Depot, all the building products, the understanding of what they are, where they go, how they're used, that'll help her in anything to do with building products, which is a big part of brokerage. And both of them just have that people skill, the
Mm-hmm.
personal, ability to have that conversation and say things in a way that, you know, keeps the customer happy. And I go back to Kale's talking about, different food service type people, that attention to detail, being proactive, knowing what people are going to need, dealing with difficult people. That is like the
Mhm.
number one trait you need as a broker, I think, because a lot of difficult people out there.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So, well, appreciate that. Some other stuff that wanted to bring into this conversation too is what are we doing as a company to reach out to the broker community, to the carrier community. We've been, about maybe even prior to hiring Chad, it was like I knew we needed to go a new direction, looking at our industry, looking at the online presence of where we were and where we wanted to be, is we really needed to change that approach. And so starting in March of this year, we really started investing in creating YouTube videos. Our channel, I think, started like on March 5th. But we dove in head first. We didn't just like post a video and hope it was going to blow up. We knew it was going to be a process. This is just another step in that process today by going live. And, again, excited about that. But one of the other things, you guys probably see the broker dude hat that I'm wearing is, something that I don't even know. It probably came on a long run because I have the craziest ideas when I'm out there on a long run in the mountains somewhere of like, how do we have better outreach to not only to people that want to work for us or be agents for us, but within our broader broker community. Um, and I was like, broker dudes, and was talking to a buddy of mine that has designed a lot of logos, a lot of t-shirts. And, he really walked me through how simple that process was. Um, so we started Broker Dudes. You can go to freightbrokerdude.com, get your merchandise. Um, appreciate everybody that's already ordered some. We're seeing some great orders there, and people are sending me pictures. And one of the biggest things is it's great merchandise. It's good quality, name brand stuff. And if there are issues, we're going to stand behind it. But with Broker Dude, one of the things I'm really excited about is reaching out to the community. And Chad and I are both going down to Broker Carrier Summit in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, here next month in October. And Trey Griggs, known a long time, was actually my rep at DAT, and him and I go way back. And I just chatting to him about it. How do we get out there in the community? And so one of the things we came up with is we're going to give 10% of our profits of Broker Dudes to sponsor carriers to attend Broker Carrier Summit. This one's a little close. We just started. But there's a next one in April. So our goal is to sponsor as many carriers as we can. One of the things that we're going to do during that Broker Carrier Summit is give a discount code or a buying code. If they use that, we're actually going to up that from 10% of the profit to 30% of the profit because we want to make a difference. And, right now, carriers, the rates are, getting pushed down. They're struggling. And, I've lived through that. I was a carrier in 06, 07, 08, 09, that whole time period where it was like, I was beating my head against the wall every single day. And I can't say if this is better or worse time because I'm not a carrier right now, but I know it's tough. I know they were both tough. So just finding ways to give back. And one of the things I thought about with Broker Dudes, it's brand agnostic, so it's not B2B transportation. So hopefully we can get all the brokers in our space behind it because they know that a good portion of what we're going to do is support carriers to strengthen those relationships for everybody, not just us.
Yeah, I would add on that broker dude. I think everybody who's in the transportation brokerage space has the same probably feedback from people around them. So what exactly do you do?
Yeah.
And I mean, they just can't wrap their brain around what it is that we do. And I think the other thing is they don't really understand how many people there are in this space in their areas. And I think having that brand out there and having it be agnostic and having people from all different companies wearing it could really start to bring, a little bit of understanding, in your areas of how many people actually work in this space
Hmm.
and get a little bit better understanding of what we are and what service we bring because brokers have good names, they have bad names, you know. I think we can emphasize what's good about being a broker.
Yeah. And and if you've been following along, you know this, but we did Broker Dude, but we also just released Broker Babe, for the ladies in our industry. And some of the other things we're working on are going to be Trucker Dude and Trucker Babe. Because then that's where I feel like we can really get the carriers behind it. Say, hey, I would wear that hat, because if you've ever talked to a true trucker, I know we went through this when I was at an asset-based company. What do we call them? They're truckers. That's what they are. That's what they want to be called. Is they're truckers or they're drivers. We don't need to make them like a super fancy title like we love to do in any industry, right? It's like they're a trucker and they're, my stepfather-in-law is you know, he'll tell me all the time, it's like I'm just a dumb trucker, but he made a great living off of it. And he has a great retirement because he was smart. And so a lot of times, the blue collar roots is let's just work hard. And, I think that if we can get everybody behind that process, not only through the Broker Dude brand, but through this, podcast, or it's not even really podcast, just going live with training and giving back to the industry, I think that that'll really, drive this process forward. Um,
You want to talk a little bit about what's going to come in the next few sessions, you know, the next few weeks?
with the new folks and the
Yeah.
interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll interview them one on one so that we can figure out what's working for them because they're different experiences. They're gonna pick up things differently. So do weekly interviews with them, much like this, probably a 30-minute interview on a weekly basis on a live because I don't want to filter it to where it's like, oh, that's highly doctored or we didn't get the real scoop. I want them also part of this is, I always look at positive pressure, putting positive pressure on people, and I actually saw a thing the other day, is great people want to be coached hard and they want that process of growing. And I look at myself a lot like a coach. I still coach basketball, youth basketball. That's how I approach the workplace, and that's what I remember. Whether it's work or playing sports, some of the best coaches have the highest expectations, but they're not just going to put expectations on you. They're going to help you get there. And that's really what this process is about. So on a weekly basis, we'll interview them, some things that we're going to go over, what worked well, what didn't work well. And, speaking of positive pressure is this is going to put pressure on us. Um, because if we go on and we have the same issue week after week, that's our fault. And accountability, I put in a post the other day, cuts both ways. So true accountability is you can't escape it. And so that's kind of putting our money where our mouth is hey, we're putting ourselves on a spotlight just as much as these new folks and training them. So again, weekly basis, one-on-one interviews. And so if people have things that they want to see through this process, make it in the comments. One thing before we get out of here, I forgot to do this was drop in the comments where you're logging on from, and how long you've been in transportation. And we want to see as we go through this process how many what is our target audience, because we might need to adapt to based on who's logging on. So
The other thing I think is really nice about bringing in the trainees on a weekly basis and into this live environment is it's really training to do their job.
yeah.
Because what we do is we get on a call with somebody we've never talked with before, and we start talking and we start communicating. We try to like find connections, and we make mistakes, and you have to figure out a way to make mistakes, but kind of laugh about it and just roll with the punches. And I think in a live environment, you have that ability to really fine tune those skills.
Yep, great points. Well, I wanted to go half an hour and we're right at 29 minutes. So we did a great time management. So Sean just put in the comments. I think management folks and brokers planning to grow would benefit most from your content, as well as other new folks. I'll encourage my network to tune in. Appreciate you, Sean. I know we've had a lot of conversations and really trying to, I think Sean and I are cut of the same cloth. We're just trying to make everybody better. And that's what this whole process is really about is, all boats rise with the tide. And that's really what we're about. So thanks again, guys. Tune in to baby brokers to boss brokers from zero to zeros. We're gonna put those out there next Thursday and Friday. So thank you again, and look forward to the growth that we see through this process.